of Westminster Insider at Politico Europe, and Ryan Sabey, the Deputy Political Editor of The Sun. It's been great having your company this Sunday. Thank you so much. Let's kick off with The Times. It's their front page and it's the crisis in the NHS, essentially. Sasha.
So this is a story that we hear every winter, and we hear about people being treated in corridors, but this is actually a really horrible story about the kind of formalisation where there was a job ad put out for nurses to do 12-hour shifts specifically to look after people in corridors.
Wow.
And it's basically saying there's this thing that we've had to do as an emergency because there hasn't been space and people have needed that extra care while they're waiting to be treated. And it's saying, you know what? We actually have to hire people just to do this. And this comes hot on the heels of Wes Streeting saying that he's ashamed of the kind of service that people are getting in the NHS at the moment. Went around a hospital and he was told, look, this is it on a good day. And he's thinking, really? This is it on a good day? And actually, one of the things that NHS England has said is that it's going to report the number of patients being looked after in corridors on weekly updates during the kind of winter flu crisis. But also in the stories that, you know what, this does actually happen in the summer as well. It's not just flu season.
What you hear from nurses, Ryan, is they say, to particular, you know, the Wes Streetings, come on the ward at midnight, not when there's a photo opportunity, to really feel that acute pressure that NHS staff are facing day in, day out.
Yeah, and I think that the problem for nurses, they probably know that within those hospitals you've got bed blockers, people who can get out into the community but can't actually, they haven't got anywhere to go to. So this week we had the government sort of almost delaying a social care plan, not saying they won't come up with a big plan until 2028. That does seem like we've had successive governments, all parties, kicking this down the road. And Labour do keep talking about how they had 14 years to, in opposition. Where was the big plan for social care? Now they've got Louise Casey to look at this, but you just wonder whether another 3 years does it really need to take that long? There's been so many reviews. You think you could almost cherry pick the best bits and come up with a quick rapid fire review within the next 6 months to actually get things moving.
Yeah, and the other pressure on Keir Starmer, still the Sunday Times, is Tulip Siddiq,
yeah, under big pressure. Now, the Sunday Times have actually got some words from the Bangladesh leader, Mohammed Yunus, who basically asks the question whether she has benefited from plane robbery. And one of the things that he wants to be investigated is the question of all the properties that her and her family have lived in. Now, I think this brings up several questions for the Prime Minister and Tulip Siddiq. Now, one thing that she has done, she has referred herself to the ethics watchdog. But I think one thing that they'll be looking at is a conflict of interest. But I think, is it moving towards the territory where there's been a perception of a conflict of interest? And I think sometimes the political pressure becomes so much, you just wonder whether it's easier for Keir Starmer and Tulip Siddiq just to maybe call it quits and her to step down. She is the anti-corruption minister after all, and with all the other issues affecting the government at the moment, you just wonder whether actually it's time at the moment just to walk away from this.
Tulip Siddiq saying she denies any wrongdoing at this stage. Let's move on, Sasha, to the Telegraph. And, you know, we're long following the farmers and their discontent with the Labour government, but now they've got backing from supermarkets.
Now they've got backing from Morrison's, in fact. So the head of agriculture, Sophie Thrupp, came out yesterday and did this big video on X and said, you know, we stand by you, we understand you. She herself is a farmer, so she's saying, look, I actually get this. And this is a really big thing for farmers to have a support from supermarkets. There's often fights between the kind of farmers' unions and supermarkets. So to have the supermarkets standing behind, or one of the supermarkets anyway, standing behind them, and they have perhaps a voice that is easier to get through into government than it is for farmers. I mean, we've seen thousands and thousands of farmers on Whitehall at the end of last year. But this is someone saying, you know what, I understand these concerns and I'm going to bring them to government. and hopefully find some kind of resolution.
Yeah, the government's saying they're not going to back down on that inheritance tax, so this will still rumble on. The Sun on Sunday, Ryan, your paper, and the take on that kind of human take on the wildfires and how it's impacting
This is looking at all the celebrities. You've seen many celebrities whose homes have been destroyed in Los Angeles over the past week or so. And then now we've got a lot of these celebrities trying to get into these top hotels in Los Angeles because there is nowhere else to stay. They've been told to evacuate from their homes, and we've got Dennis Quaid and Buffy star Sarah Michelle Gellar, who are amongst those trying to get beds for the night in the Hotel Bel Air. I mean, we have got a lot of sympathy for anyone caught up in this, but some of the rooms in these hotels are £15,000 a night. And I had been reading over the last couple of days or so that a lot of the hotels in Los Angeles obviously up their prices slightly. So it might be OK for A-list celebrities to try and find rooms, but what is there for the tens and tens of thousands of people who've literally got nothing? They've been told to leave, they've got in their cars. Where do they go? Where are they staying? Think about all the schools that have been burnt down. Oh, that kid's education for the coming years. It's desperate.
And LA actually has such a vast diversity of communities, doesn't it? And you make that point, really important point, that there are people who've lost everything here. Let's move on to the Sunday Express, please. Their front page, IVF miracle powered by AI technology. Sasha, talk us through this.
So this is a really interesting one. I was kind of laughing earlier with Ryan saying I'm a bit of an AI fogey sometimes, and I'm a bit down on it.
I feel like that. I do feel like that sometimes.
But this is actually a great thing. So artificial intelligence basically saying that we can make IVF loads better. So you look at the kind of strongest sperm, strongest egg, and you can match it up. Because like IVF is one of those things where it costs thousands of pounds a lot of the time. It's very expensive. People have often frozen their eggs and gone through really difficult processes. And the chances of it aren't actually that good. It's about 32% for women under 35 for that to result in a pregnancy. So this is one of the instances where AI could actually come in and do analysis that we weren't able to do before and perhaps make that better.
Yeah, it's a real positive step forward. The Daily Star to end then. Multitasking, Ryan, turns you into a half-wit.
Yeah, I think this is probably where I've been going wrong, actually. There's been a sort of a study that's been done, and it basically says, look, if you try and do too many things, you're just not going to succeed. So actually, and it takes time for your brain to refocus on the next task. So when you get told by your partner, your husband, your wife to actually do something, just say, look, I just need to do one thing at a time. So don't give me a list, reams of stuff to do. One thing at a time, and it'll all be sorted in the end.
Gosh, this is no good in this job. I have about 1,000 tabs open in my brain currently.
Exactly.
Great to have your company, great to see you. We'll see you guys after the break.
There's always more to the news than a head.